Hello, I'm Charles Darling and this is how I made Electric Blue. One of the first things I remember recording was this piano here. I think the reason I started with the piano, honestly, was because it was easier than starting with the guitar. Because I kind of got all up in my head about orchestrating the guitars properly and what I wanted to put in. That was kind of the first thing I did, and then I built on that. The first point that I knew the song had an identity musically, I'd had a whole day thinking, I have the words, I have the vague idea, but I don't really know what I want it to sound like. It was really bothering me, and then right as I was trying to go to sleep, this thing kept going around in my head like and this sort of like dark like climbing thing, and I made myself get up. I went straight to my laptop, and I can't find the original file, but it sounded a little bit like this. And the thing with the riff was, I tried many different things and I wasn't happy with the way it was sounding, and I wanted to make it sound more intense, more impending, and what I decided to do was try and down tune the guitar so that it would have a slightly strange tone to the string. As I was loosening the string, it snapped and I didn't have any spare strings, so instead of go to a guitar shop or order some, which I couldn't be bothered to do, I got really irritated on myself and I wrapped the broken string, the end that had snapped, around my hand, and using 2 guitar picks and trying to lever it down in weird ways, eventually I got this basic noise. Hurt quite a lot, but I loved the way it sounded. It was so perfect. So yeah, one of the big things that got me moving on the song was making the kind of dark sounding synths. This is what they sound like. I loved the intensity and the urgency, and it's kind of almost a little bit frightening, and I just loved how dark that sounded. The next thing that I added that I felt like was maybe a big deal was this guitar part here in the chorus. I layered it in to give it a more major and more kind of euphoric sounding tone, because originally it sounded like this. Which, it was dark and powerful. Originally when I started the song, it had a very dark vibe to it, but I felt like it needed, something brighter and more uplifting for the chorus, and I think the combination of the two gave it the feeling that I really wanted. What did I do next? So, what I wanted the song to do is build. Every moment of it feels like, something is impending. And I laid up a lot of guitars for the second verse. One of the noises that I really, really loved that I didn't plan on putting in was this noise here. Which on its own sounds a bit weird, but I think it helped give that idea of, instead of just keeping the song moving, it makes it feel like something is coming. I think that's the kind of major musical note that I kept giving myself, is it needs to feel kind of like the listener is being pulled in the direction of the end of the song instead of kind of making their way there on their own. And then we get to the second pre-chorus. Within it, what I did is I took the riff from the intro and I layered that in. And again, the drums there, the hi-hat, I played a kind of gallop on it. The whole song is just, that impending thing that I've said so many times now. So it begins with this kind of drop here. It's kind of a respite, but it's still like, here we go, here we go, here we go, here we go. The idea was trailers, and I really wanted one bit that was no compromise, intense trailer kind of vibe. And so the second half of this break, when everything kind of kicks in, that's kind of what I went for. And one of the things I added there was a ghostly piano that I put in a lot of reverb, which gives it kind of a haunting element. In some ways the song is really positive in the way it feels, and then there's some parts in there that are really intentionally dark, and I think this is really haunting, but I love it. It's just that feeling of, you know, something's coming. When I got to the end, I had kind of a choice I had to make, because it was getting to the point where I had too many ideas, and I tried to take stuff out so it would have a kind of earlier climax to the end of the song, but it never felt right. I knew I really wanted this section here. Just drums, big vocals, and I wanted it to have that kind of togetherness kind of vibe. But then for that to last half of the chorus, the following half of the chorus felt like you never got to enjoy the end enough. And I was really unsure about whether it was the right thing to do or not. I spoke to a friend of mine about it, and he said, if you can't decide, you need to do what you would enjoy the most if you were a listener and not the writer. And I just love the feeling of the chorus going again one more time at the end, and I added in lots and lots of stuff towards the end, extra guitar parts, extra melodies, and they're a little subtle and they're in the background, but the major thing that I added at the end was the harmonies. I recorded all the vocals about a week before I went to get them mixed and mastered, and it just didn't sit right with me, the harmonies that I'd chosen. It was the part of the song that I was the least satisfied with. I eventually kind of said to myself, enough's enough, you're going to have to delete all the ones you've done and start from the beginning. It was the day before I had to go in to get them mixed and mastered. It was getting to kind of like 3, 4 in the morning, and I was just adding more and more harmonies. And the end result, this is what I stayed up and added. You get caught up in the feeling, I find your touch so intriguing. Maybe it's unusual, baby, it's only up to us. This life's just as real as you perceive it. You know true love when you feel it, baby, it's so beautiful. So we'll light inside when I'm next to you. Sparks like bright wild electric blue. The harmonies are broken up into 2 sections. So what I did first was the main melody, get caught and it kind of goes, feeling, I find your touch so intriguing. Really full, it's stacked full of things, it makes such a wonderful chord every time it hits. But I felt it was missing something and I really didn't know what it was, so I pretty much spent an hour kind of like vocally riffing stuff on the mic. Eventually what I came up with was this kind of bizarre offbeat thing, and the bizarre offbeat thing isolated sounds like this. You get caught up in the feeling, I find your touch so intriguing. And it just resulted in this bizarre but kind of wonderful combination of the 2 huge stacks of harmonies, because there's so much there being sung. I can tell you how many it actually ended up being. In that section there are 48 different harmonies going on at the same time. It went from being my least favourite part of the song, the part that I was concerned about, to being hands down my favourite. So yeah, I've been Charles Darling, and you've just watched how I made Electric Blue. Thank you for watching, I hope you found it interesting, and I'll see you soon.